All right, welcome back. In this new project for Project 2 on vector graphics, we are going to be working inside of Adobe Illustrator. So for this first set of videos that you'll be watching for Adobe Illustrator for the interface for exercise 1, we are going to be looking at the overview of the interface and going over the different windows, panels, and also how to initialize and set up your new project. We'll also look at a few details with that, like importing images into the file for reference, how to work with grids, and placeholder objects and text. So let's get started. First off, I'd like to give you a little introduction to our interface here with Illustrator. A few things you may notice as we look at it is that it is very much so familiar and similar to what we looked at in Adobe Photoshop with the first project. The setup is much the same. Some of the tools, however, do work differently, and I do want to make sure that I point those out as we go. So let's take a look and break it down. Over here on the left side of the screen, you should notice that we have the same kind of toolbar we experienced from Photoshop, which is convenient, so this will be easier for you to be able to get around and find things. So we have our basic toolbar over here, and then across the top bar, which you're not seeing right now, is a tool or tool options menu. Sensitive menu that changes as you change tools or as you change selection of items inside of your work area. You may also notice with Adobe Illustrator that it is an open style interface, so there's no locked in background in the interface. So if you're seeing that on your screen, it's not a problem, it's just the way that it's designed. When we add a new document to the scene, that will help anchor down this open area. But for now, it's just kind of open up and see through like a giant window. So let's go ahead and hop over to the opposite side of the screen over here on the right. And the right side is where all of our panels are located. Now, when you initially open Illustrator, it probably looks something like my screen where all the panels are minimized. And you might have one that's popped out here for layers and artboards. Remember from Photoshop that if you ever want to see your panels go from minimize to maximize, just use the little double arrow icon up here that says expanded panels. You click on that double arrow and it will pop all of your panels out onto screen like this so that you can see each of them. Now again, because we have nothing active in Illustrator yet, all of these panels are actually empty. The moment that you open a new document, these panels will populate with all sorts of options. All right. Now that gives you the basic rundown of the interface. Of course, we have our basic menu up here across the screen that gives us access to various things. Our basic file menu for saving items or even exporting items here. Such as I think you can export directly. We can look at the different formats for that. There's an edit menu which includes things like copy and paste, of course, some other special settings like editing colors, and also changing general color settings for your software. There's separate menus in here that are very specific to Illustrator, like the object menu. Which basically describes anything you have selected inside of your work area. They identify it as an object. Unless it's text, then it would be identified as type, which has its own menu as well. And under object, there are many different items, and some of these we'll take a look at as we go through the software to help edit individual items you have inside the interface. So this is just a good one to reference from time to time. Type, as you may guess from its title, edits fonts or text inside of your document that you have highlighted, so you can change options for it, text, title, format, any of those things. They have a menu for selection. There is a effect menu, which I'll show you other ways for accessing through the software. We also have view-based options, so we can activate previews, overprint previews for checking for errors, zooming, all of those things inside this area. We have our general window menu towards the end, and that, again, if you recall from Photoshop, allows you to adjust arrangement of open windows, change your workspace options, or even allow you to activate specific panels on screen. And obviously, remember, the check boxes next to any of these indicate that that is an actively visible panel that is active on top. You may notice out here, whenever we're not in that menu, that there are many tabbed extra panels that we don't see. And those you can always access by clicking on their tabs. So not a whole lot of new stuff going on there. Again, the arrangement is very much the same as Photoshop is. Give me a second. I'm going to turn this off down here real quick. A little bouncing icon sometimes can be a little distracting. So there we go. All right. Now that we've gone over the interface overview, I think this would be a good time for us to go ahead and initiate a brand new file. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to File, we're going to go to New, and when the New menu pops up, we of course want to start this off on the right foot, give it the appropriate name. So again, I'm putting in my first name, last name, underscore, the semester and the year that I'm doing the work for. Again, this may vary for you, but I'm going to put in Fall 2016, and then I'm going to put in the project name. So this is Project 2. So again, that's first name, last name, underscore, semester and year, and then another underscore, whoops, and whoops, I did that all over again, didn't I? Let's do that again. Alright, so yes, first name, last name, underscore, fall 2016 is what I put, but again, it's for you, it's specific to the year and the semester term that you're in. So if it's spring 2017 or spring 2018 or whatever, then make sure that you outfit it correctly. And then follow that by the actual project that it's a part of. Below that, we have other options here that we can set up for Illustrator. Now, Illustrator has a unique feature in here called artboards. This is a concept and a practice common to the design world. Illustrator is very much so a product that was designed with graphic designers in mind, those working inside the graphic design field. So there are many tools here that operate under that specific area. One of them is something called an artboard. And this gives you the option to add multiple work surfaces inside of a single document, so that you can make variations of work that you're on, such as making a logo or company letterhead, a poster, a postcard, all kinds of print media or even web-based graphic media can be designed through here and kept together in one file, so that you don't have to worry about organizing and finding all those individual pieces. It also makes it easier for moving and comparing designs. So we're going to put 2 artboards here just so you can see the effect of it. So we'll set that up. And then down here below, we're going to change our width and height settings. And we're going to be using the reference settings from the project itself. So we're going to be setting it up to match that. Now, by default, Illustrator is set to measure in points for the units, which can be a little deceiving, but if you're working into a design field by chance, or using this software in that way, you may want to learn how to understand point values. Now for us, we're just going to learn it practically. I'm going to set it to inches because that's what I understand as a print medium. Inches is the most common to me for measurement that I understand. So I'm going to use inches. And I'm going to put my document not as a letter setting, as it says here. And we can actually use the size setting to drop and use the one called tabloid. And what tabloid generates is an 11 by 17 inch area. This is going to be equivalent to your poster design for this project. Now, With the demonstration file I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to flip these measurements, so it's going to be a 17 by 11. Of course, when you're working with your own project file, your poster can be vertical or horizontal. So the arrangement of these number values is up to you and your design and your concept. So make sure that it matches. All right, so I'm doing 17 by 11 horizontal. You can even easily flip the orientation over here. See, it has a little icon for that. So I'm going to use the horizontal person. And that's all we need to change. You can look under advanced if you want to. There's a little button for that. It does have settings that are generally rigged from the beginning. Color mode CMYK, if you recall from our first project, that's a typical print method. Since we're not printing this poster for our project and for this course as an online class, we can switch it to RGB and design it as an RGB file. Now, if you ever decide that you do want to design this as a print layer document, I recommend working with a copy of the project for yourself if you want to make something, and work with it as a CMYK file, and that will give you better color reproduction. But RGB is best for digital representation, so we're going to use that. And we'll leave raster effects on 300, but we shouldn't be using any, and that's all we need. We'll hit OK and launch it. All right, now we have our document launched in, and you can see what the software looks like when it is fully alive and active with all of its parts. So here's the effect. First thing we see when we drop in our new document. Notice the titling information up here at the top. That it gives you the same @ symbol like we had in Photoshop with the zoom percentage, so how close you're zoomed into your document, the color level, and if you're in preview mode, which we are. So we can also see on screen now the effect of the artboard process. So look, we have 1 and 2 artboards out here. Again, artboard is just another word for canvas like we experienced in Photoshop. So similar but different. And we can also see that all of our areas inside of Illustrator are alive, like I mentioned a second ago. So now your palettes and your tabs over here for your panels have active color options for you to change. You can access brushes and symbols and gradients and transparencies and all kinds of options for your project. There are many things in here again that we will probably cover the scope of as we go through the design process of a project, which I don't want to bother you too much with again until we start adding the other pieces to this document. So we'll go ahead and end this first part of the first exercise right here, and when we get back together we will look at importing our files into the document. Alright, take care and I will see you on that.